Hello and welcome to the channel. It's me, Chris Brook. Right, council tax. So not only are the council upping the council tax to in some parts 20%, I think it's about 10 here. They also want to reduce the amount of times bins are collected. I've heard from some it's about once a month. Well, can you imagine how awful the streets will be if that was the case? Oh, it doesn't even bear thinking about. But also, given the fact that the councils all across the country, Essex, Suffolk, Norfolk, I can't remember the rest, they've all put a stop to the elections this May. So now they've taken away your democratic right to vote, if that's something that you partake in. So then the big question really is then, given the fact that you've had your voice removed and they're not working as elected people because then they haven't been elected, that then makes council tax illegal, even more so than it is. So how do you go about stopping your council tax? Well, given all those points and using case law, I've come up with this. Let me know what you think, and I will speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.
Notice of withholding council tax. 2. Name of local council, council tax department address, city postcode. From your full name, your address, city postcode, date. Subject: lawful notice of withholding council tax due to lack of contract, unlawful taxation, and suspension of democratic rights. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent. 1. A private individual and beneficial owner of your address am formally notifying you that I am withholding any further payments of council tax on the basis that 1. No binding contract exists between myself and council name, and I do not consent to an obligation that is not legally enforceable under contract law. 2. Council tax is only lawfully applicable to commercial properties, not private residential properties. 3. The postponement of the 2025 local elections constitutes a fundamental breach of democratic rights, meaning the local council no longer holds legitimate authority to levy tax or act on behalf of the electorate. This notice serves as a formal challenge to any claim by the council that I am legally obligated to pay council tax. Should you disagree with my position, I request that you provide clear, verified, and legally binding proof that I am under any obligation to make such payments. 2. Lack of contractual obligation to pay council tax. 1. A contract requires consent. Under common law principles, for any financial obligation to be enforceable, a lawful contract must exist. There must be an offer, acceptance, consideration, mutual intent to create legal relations. 2. No explicit or implied agreement. I have not signed or agreed to any contract with council name that binds me to make council tax payments. As per Article 61 of the Magna Carta 1215, I reserve my right to lawful rebellion against unlawful demands. 3. No legal obligation without contract. As established in case law, Freeman v. United Kingdom, 1982, no individual is bound to financial obligations without a voluntarily agreed contract. Central London Property Trust Ltd. v. High Trees House Ltd. 1947. KB 130. Obligations imposed without mutual consent are unenforceable. DPP v. Hussain, 2018, UKSC 32. Public authorities must operate within legal frameworks, and coercion without lawful authority is unlawful. 4. Unjust enrichment. Demanding money where no contract exists constitutes unjust enrichment, which is a civil wrong under Lipkin-Gorman v. Carpnell Ltd., 1991. 3. Council tax applies to commercial, not residential properties. 1. Liability for property taxation. Under the Local Government Finance Act 1992, council tax is levied on domestic properties, but this does not equate to a legally binding obligation on private individuals. 2. Distinction between residential and commercial property. Non-domestic properties are subject to business rates, not council tax. Residential properties do not generate commercial revenue, and no law mandates private individuals to pay property tax without voluntary consent. 3. Lawful challenge to jurisdiction. I require the council to prove, with certified documentary evidence, that a residential property is legally required to pay council tax. Council tax is not a voluntary charge. Non-payment is a criminal offence, which it is not. Until you can provide such proof, I will consider any further demands for payment as fraudulent under Fraud Act 2006, Section 2, false representation. 4. Suspension of 2025 local elections nullifies council authority. 1. Democracy and taxation are inseparable. Under the Bill of Rights 1689, taxes may only be levied with the consent of the governed. The postponement of local elections violates this principle. 2. No legitimate governance without elections. By postponing elections, the local government has stripped the electorate of its democratic rights. This breaches European Convention on Human Rights, ECHR, Article 3, Protocol 1, Right to Free Elections, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR, Article 25, Right to Participate in Governance. 3. Fraudulent authority. If council name has suspended elections, it no longer represents the people and cannot lawfully impose financial demands. Without democratic consent, taxation is illegal. 4. Illegal demand for payment. Any demand for council tax without a democratically elected government constitutes misfeasance in public office, R v. Ditham, 1979. QB 722 Abuse of Power, R v. Bowden, 1999. EWCA Crim 52, 5. Formal notice and lawful challenge. Given the above, I formally demand that 1. The council provides legal proof of obligation. Provide a copy of any valid signed contract that obliges me to pay council tax. 2. Proof that residential properties are legally liable. Provide legal clarification under statute law, with case precedent confirming that I must pay council tax on a private residence. 3. Justification for taxation under an unelected body. Explain how the council retains the authority to impose tax after suspending democratic elections. 6. Final notice and consequences for non-compliance. If the council cannot provide the required legal proof within 14 days, then 1. All council tax payments will remain lawfully withheld under the principle of no taxation without representation. 2. Any further enforcement action will be considered fraudulent under the Fraud Act 2006, Section 2. 3. I will file a formal complaint against council name for misfeasance and abuse of public office. 4. I reserve the right to take legal action for financial and emotional distress caused by unlawful demands. Failure to respond within 14 days will be taken as your tacit agreement that no lawful obligation exists. This notice is served in good faith and without malice. I reserve all my lawful rights. Your full name, attorney in fact, not the trustee. Your contact information, date.